Good evening and welcome everybody to our wonderful, magical Motivation Monday. So I would like to introduce Shireen. I'm so excited to have Shireen here. Shireen is part of our community. She comes from a beautiful town in South Africa called Clarence, which I've yet to go and visit. And it's just been such a wonderful journey being in Gift of Legacy with her. So she shared a few things on Motivation Monday about heart and brain matters. And now we're really getting down to the nitty gritty of, like the poster said, law, honor, and do no harm. Very, very beautiful principles to live by. So without any further ado, Shireen, I'm going to hand over to you because I'm very interested in learning what you have to share tonight.
Hi, Cans. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Hello, everybody. So nice to be here. I must admit I'm a little bit nervous about sharing this information because it's the first time I'm doing it in a public forum like this. I have spoken to other men and women, you know, face to face, heart to heart. So this is very different. So bear with me. I really feel this deep need and desire to share this with everybody. So my story before I started looking for Law for Mankind is, why did I even bother to do that? And somebody asked me the question, when did I first start seeking honor and doing no harm and trust? And I sort of traced things back to my early 20s, where I had this resistance to having to call anybody a Mr. or Mr., Mrs. or a doctor, or I resisted having anybody, allowing anybody to be higher than me. You know, we are all equal. We are men and women and we're equal. And I didn't know exactly where that was all coming from, but it was just this innate urge in me that we are all equal. And so as my journey of my life continues, I've had all sorts of weird and wonderful experiences. And one of them led me to the Law for Mankind, or the Sovereign's Way. And for me, it's been a real heart-opening, eye-opening experience, because you know, they share that when you know the truth, then you have to release all the traumas that are lodged within from all the lives we've experienced in our lives. And at first you sort of go, I had an okay life, you know, I had good parents, I lived in a good home, I'm fine. Until they jump out and bite you when you least expect them. So I was just going to talk off the cuff tonight, and then I decided I would do a little PowerPoint so that it would keep you on track, because it's very easy to go off track. I'm going to share it. Have I got sharing? Great, thank you. Right.
While Shireen's getting busy, this is a really beautiful and interesting subject, because the world is changing and none of us actually know our rights. We have no clue. And what we've been fed for all of our lives, like Shireen said, is not the truth. And it's coming to light now. So yeah, I'm very, very, very keen to hear you talk.
So thanks, Cans. So this is called the Law for Woman and Mankind. So in other words, womankind, like you can see with the little oblique through it. And the question is, what the hell is that? I mean, you know, what is it really? And so just to start on a bit of a lighter note, I'm going to share a little video from the series Fawlty Towers. And this is what happens with communication. This is what happens with law when we don't understand how it all works. So enjoy.
Manuel, there is too much butter on those trays. There is too much butter on those trays.
No, senor. Not on those trays. No, sir. Uno, dos.
Hay mucho burro allí. Hay mucho burro allí.
Mantequilla.
What?
Mantequilla. Burro is burro.
Manuel, por favor, Manuel.
Sí.
Nothing, dear. I'm just dealing with it.
He speak good. How you say?
English. Mantequilla. Solamente dos.
Well, don't look at me. You're the one who's supposed to be able to speak it.
Those 2 pieces. 2 each. Arriba.
I don't know why you wanted to hire him, Basil.
Because he's cheap and keen to learn, dear. And in this day and age,
But why did you say you could speak the language?
I learned classical.
Sorry about that. Our power's just gone over onto Eskom power. I just want to check that I'm on the right. Sorry, bear with me a minute. I just want to check that I'm on a portable device, otherwise I'm going to lose you.
Perfect. You're still with us, which is great.
I'll just check here because sometimes it hops over. No, that's fine. Sorry about that. Thanks, Eskom. Just what I needed to sort of still my nerves. All righty. We'll go back.
Manuel, there is too much butter on those trays. There is too much butter on those trays.
No, senor. Not on those trays. No, sir. Uno, dos.
Hay mucho burro allí. Hay mucho burro allí.
Mantequilla.
What?
Mantequilla. Burro is burro.
Manuel, por favor, Manuel.
Sí.
Nothing, dear. I'm just dealing with it.
He speak good. How you say?
English. Mantequilla. Solamente dos.
Well, don't look at me. You're the one who's supposed to be able to speak it.
Those 2 pieces. 2 each. Arriba.
I don't know why you wanted to hire him, Basil.
Because he's cheap and keen to learn, dear. And in this day and age,
But why did you say you could speak the language?
I learned classical Spanish, not the strange dialect he seems to have picked up.
Because to train a monkey.
So you may feel like this, and it's okay, because this little excerpt is exactly what we are experiencing in the world today. We've got people bossing it over each other people trying to interpret what others are saying. And generally, there's just confusion. And just because I think I know better doesn't mean that it's truth. So before we start, I just wanted to have a little disclaimer, and I'll read it to you. So I, a woman known as Shireen Rose Lee, share this information to encourage a safe space of questioning within your being, where you can ask yourself, is there really more to our worldly experience than meets the eye? The information I share is from the perception, experiences, and questioning of I, and what resonates as truth for I. I ask that you, as a woman or a man, take responsibility for your own thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that may arise or be triggered by what I share. This sharing is purely from I, a woman, to you as a man or woman. So now there's a couple of questions. Are you able to open yourself up to the possibility that the legal system is not what we think, what we believe? Is it the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Could there be something that we are missing, hidden in plain sight? So just for your information, there are many paths to choose from to discover the truth and empower yourself with knowledge. Just know, fighting never wins. You know, if you look at any history book, All they've ever done is fight, and guess what? We're still fighting. Protesting is like a child wanting a sweetie. You don't get anywhere. So there are a few paths that I've listed here, and I'm sure there are many others. There's common law, there's reclaiming your straw man, applying for a live birth certificate versus the ones that we have, which are death birth certificates, but I'll explain a little bit more about that later. Emancipation and past syntax. I'm going to talk about the law for mankind, the sovereign's way, which is an emotional journey rather than being in conflict with another. So we start at the beginning. So what was the beginning? The various ideas. Was it a big bang? Did God clap his hands and suddenly, woof, the earth appeared? And this beautiful creation of Mother Earth was placed in our hands, and God said he gave woman, or man and woman, dominion over the land, the air, and the water. And note, LAW. This is the basic law of God, of the divine, of the creator, of the universe, of every man and woman has the right to this law. And the law was do no harm, which means speak the truth, act in honor, and offer remedy. When we do this, we avoid conflict. We avoid having to go to court. You know, I can go and study the law and try and learn all the stuff, the legal acts, the statutes, you know, millions and millions of books that are on the shelves, and find one precedent after another. But it is so complicated when it needs to be really simple. Do no harm, speak the truth, act in honor, and offer remedy. And I have my own personal little story that I want to share here. A couple of months ago, I was down in Lucia. My parents flew in from Zimbabwe, and I took them out for an Irish coffee. And when the waitress brought the Irish coffee, it was a milkshake. It wasn't an Irish coffee. And I'd had a couple of incidents with my parents previously where they complained, and I ended up feeling bad. You know, I felt bad for the other people that were around listening to what they were complaining about, bad that it wasn't right for them, bad it wasn't a perfect Irish coffee. And so there was this sort of raw nerve of this Irish coffee that wasn't good enough. Anyway, this particular shop in Umhlanga was making these Irish coffees, and they were about 72 Rand each, which is quite a steep price to pay. But I was treating my parents. So when they arrived as milkshakes, I decided, no, this was not acceptable. And I went up to the manageress, and I said to her, excuse me, you know, the Irish coffees, I'm afraid they just, you know, they're not good enough. It's a milkshake. So she said to me, well, the man that makes the Irish coffees, it's his day off today and nobody else knows how to make it. And my first reaction, which started to rise up in me, was, that's not my problem, that's your problem. You know, this is a restaurant, you're offering them, you're charging a fortune, you know, you must provide the right thing. But before it actually came out my mouth, something in me shifted. And I said to the lady, well, can I teach somebody how to make them? And she looked at me, she said, what? I said, well, can I teach somebody how to make them? So she said, yeah, sure. So our waitress was a lovely young woman, and she really went out of her way every time we were there to provide excellent service. So I said, come, I'm going to teach you about Irish coffees. And I explained a little bit of the history of them and how to heat up the glass and how to pour the cream, etc., and why the sugar needs to be stirred in first, not afterwards. And she knew how to make an Irish coffee. And I went to sit down, and a little later she brought me the Irish coffees. And then not long after that, each waiter, waitress, waitron, if you want to make them not men and women, came past to say, thank you. We've all learned how to make Irish coffees, and we feel so happy and empowered that we have now learned. And it was like I got this bucket of cold water over me, because I thought, oh my God, that's what the Law for Mankind is. Instead of going up there and having a boxing match with somebody who's maybe an assistant manager, doesn't maybe not really powerful. The staff don't know what to do, because when the owner's there, he gives them a tough time, whatever, all the drama that's going around in the background. By my offering remedy, I mean, I spoke my truth. I acted in honor that, really I don't mind paying, but I want the right thing. But I offered remedy to help them provide the service to me. And that was when the light bulb really went ka-ching for me. This journey has now become very, very interesting. So we are all creator beings. Every moment of every day is created by I in my experience. And again, going back to that Irish coffee, the experience that I had turned out to be really worthwhile. I felt good in my body, my heart, that I'd done good. Whereas I could have shat all over the manager and caused a scene, and everybody would have left with a bad taste in their mouth. So I changed that moment. I created a new moment for me. And this is the power we have every single day, every single moment of our experience. There is always a choice of what are we going to create. So back to the creator, the creator. Men and women were created. And then they created corporations, governments, legal systems, statutes, rules, regulations, titles, Mr., Mrs., doctor, citizen, resident, person, individual, parent, landowner, driver, employee, employer, patient, student, taxpayer, and I love this one, legal practitioner. They practice with us. Do we want somebody to stand before a court and speak for us when they're only practicing? It's a really deep question. And so this list is endless. If you just look around your lives and your experiences, you'll find names for everything, titles for everything. And the thing with the title, it falls under that government, corporation control. Men and women have also created word spells. I remember Reagan and Chris doing a Zoom many months ago discussing word spells and how the words we utter affect our lives and our experience. And these are just a couple of words in the Law for Mankind that they teach us. What is a corporation? So if you look up the real meaning of words, you'll find it's a corpse. It's an entity. It's not living. It's a building with a name on it. It's a piece of paper with articles of incorporation. There's no life. There's no breath. Government governs minds, controls us. A person, and if you look in every single legal document, nowhere does it mention a man or a woman. It refers to a person. A person is a persona. It's an actor. It's a man or woman acting as a doctor, a lawyer, a parent. Aha, a parent, a pair that rents. Let that blow your socks off for a moment. It certainly blew mine. And good morning. We say this all the time. Good morning. What is morning? What is the other meaning of morning? It's to do with sorrow. So every day we wish people a good, sorrowful day. Is that really what we want to do? Do we want to cast those spells? So you can figure out the hierarchy. Those in government are called public servants. That's what they're called. Are they serving the public, or is the tail now wagging the dog? And what I find in this is that there is so much humor that we have to find, that we can look, that we can experience, because if we take it too seriously, then it feels like we're drowning in this hole of being a victim to the circumstances. But there is humor and there is power, and it's all in our hands. So the question is how? How do men and women regain their power? Firstly, we have to question over and over until sense prevails. And I always remember when I had my health practice and I was doing the qualification for it, the teacher said to us, anytime a doctor tells you something, ask them, one, to explain it in English. And if they don't explain it in words that you can understand, just keep asking. And two, ask them what it means. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? And do it at least 5 times. And then eventually you'll start getting the real picture. So we have to question. We can't just accept the status quo. We have to question over and over until sense prevails. Secondly, we have to establish a new understanding, an inner standing of what is truth. So what is truth? You know, is truth something Granny told us, something Mommy told us, something the teacher told us, something the government tells us? What is truth? And I remember that lovely joke of the little girl asking her mom when she's making the roast, whatever, a leg of lamb on a Sunday, Mommy, why do you cut that little bit off and throw it away? So Mommy says, well, Granny did it. You know, Granny is a fabulous cook. Granny did it. She always did this. Every roast, she would cut this little bit off and throw it away. So the little girl goes, but why, Mom? Why? It doesn't make sense. Why? And Mom said, I don't know. That's just the way Granny did it. And that's the way it's done. And that's the way we're going to do it. Anyway, the next time they went to visit Granny, the little girl said to Granny, Granny, why do you cut that little piece off the meat on the Sunday roast and throw it away? And Granny said, it didn't fit in the pan. So here we were creating generations of a truth about how to cook this roast based on something not fitting in a pan. Once we have knowledge, we can make informed choices. Knowledge is power. The most challenging part in releasing, the challenging part for me and for everybody that I see on the Telegram groups for the Law for Mankind, is the releasing of the emotional trauma caused by all the past harm. And, you know, we don't like to acknowledge things that were done to us that were harmful. I have many things that I don't even remember. They're there, but I don't remember. I've got no recollection of the detail, and sort of why don't I remember? What was so bad about it that my brain is just switched off? But as we delve into this law for mankind, these things start to surface, and we have to be brave. We have to be courageous, because we have to delve into them, acknowledge them, see them, allow the healing to be complete, because the reason why they're stuck in the body is that that healing process got blocked. The wavelength of the pain and suffering didn't clear the body. And so what happens is we get triggered by the movie Matrix around us, and we don't even know why we've been triggered. But if we are aware that we have been triggered, and then look within, and then look even deeper to clear the underlying seed event, life starts getting easier. It's tough. It's tough during the moment, though. So I'll share another story with me. And I know I've had many people look at me going, good luck. Like, good luck. Because my story involves SARS. Of course, for people overseas, SARS is the South African Revenue Service for South Africa. And I have a guest house, which some of you already know, and Roy and I are equal partners. So start listening to the words. Guest house, the title. Equal partners, title. We have income and expenditure. Those are titles for earnings, okay? So because we use these type of words, and we have been caught up in that type of language, we are then under the law, under the legal system, the law of the legal system, we are obliged to pay taxes. Now, it's very interesting because SARS took Roy's 50%. They allowed him to cross off the expenditure to the income and just pay the difference. But for me, they just went, oh no, we're not taking in your expenditure. You must pay the full amount of tax on the income. And I'm going, what? That's not fair. The little child doth protest. See, I haven't got my sweetie. I'm protesting. But it really isn't fair. And I'm going, no, I do not accept this. But how on earth do I deal with it? I mean, SARS is really the big daddy, you know. He's the big daddy with the big stick, or so I thought. So I in the process of doing the Law for Mankind course and learning how to write notices, wrote my very first notice. And understand, when you write a notice, you have to be prepared to go to a court of law if need be. So it's not not something for the faint-hearted. You have to see it through. So my first notice to SARS, I sent it through to the lawyer. So you've always got to find a man or a woman to address it to. So you can't address it to a building named SARS. It's not going to respond. You have to find the name of a living being. And then you address your correspondence or notices directly to that living being. And you ask them to explain. You ask questions. And so my questions to this legal lawyer for SARS, because I'd been sent these final notices and all sorts of stuff like that, was show me, I won't mention her name, but show me a dear lady a woman who acts as a SARS lawyer, legal representative, prove to me that I have a contract with you and that I'm indebted to you. So there I'm asking my questions, but at the same time, I need to offer remedy because I don't want to go and have a boxing match with them. So I then offer to say, look, if you can prove that I owe you this, then I will happily pay you off at 100 Rand a month or whatever it is that I can afford to pay, because any more than that shall cause me harm and those around me. And so I had to write my notice. And the thing we learn in the Law of Mankind is that these notices are not a copy and a paste thing that you can just print one out, hand it out to everybody, and you just submit, because there's no essence of Shireen in it. I have to write my own notice. I have to speak from my own heart and put my energy into it. So here I am, busy drawing up my very first little notice. And on a Sunday night, we have a general Zoom support call with a couple of other South Africans and some people from overseas and Southwest Africa. And I said to them, please, will you help me with this? Because I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I want to submit it, I want to do it right, but I need some help. And as I started explaining to them the whole situation, I started to cry. And oh my God, I couldn't stop crying. So for an hour, I tried to communicate with the group and I cried. And they were so beautiful because they understood what I was crying about. It wasn't about flipping SARS. SARS is irrelevant. It's nothing. It was something that was underlying that, some really deep pain. And eventually I said, when they kept asking me, I said, it's daddy with the big stick. You know, we all have daddies with big sticks. And when I was very little and I was being punished for something, whether it was deserved or not is irrelevant, but here we are, you know, this great big man and I'm a little girl and I'm going to be punished, and I have no control, I have no say, I have no power. So I'm truly a victim in that moment. And so in receiving that punishment, there is a wounding, a deep wounding in me that says, oh no, I'm scared of Big Daddy with a stick. I'm scared of SARS with a stick. I'm scared of the government with its big stick. I'm scared of the police. But again, all these are fictional entities. They're names on buildings. What we have to do is connect with the human being that is behind that name, and speak heart to heart to that man or woman to create clarity and bring forth our truth and our honor. So long story short, I'm in the process of it, and there's obviously still a lot of stuff going on in me, because every time I try to submit my documentation, it gets blocked. So the legal representative SARS never acknowledged my email. I then tried to deliver it by hand to our nearest town, Bethlehem, and they said they couldn't accept anything on behalf of somebody else. I had to go to Randburg in Johannesburg, which I did do, and the lady wasn't there, and another legal representative said, no, he can't accept it, and he didn't understand what I was saying. He really didn't understand what I was saying, and I recorded it, so it's quite funny to listen to, because I was explaining to him the stuff I'm explaining to you, and he was like, oh no, SARS doesn't work like that. But it's because he hasn't been taught the natural law, and they do a couple of hours of natural law at varsity, but they forget it. Anyway, so I'm still in the process of submitting my documents. I've created new case numbers to try and get the information in, and even that seems to have a blockage at the moment. So I'm getting there, and I will update you in time. So after all that, I love this picture, because this is us. You know, we are a man or a woman, and we have these masks that we wear. So like I said to the SARS lawyer, you know, you're a man. When you come to work, you put on your SARS lawyer outfit. And when you go home, you put on the husband outfit or the daddy outfit. And when you play golf on Saturday, you put on the golfer outfit. But none of those are you. They are just personas. They are just fictitious entities of a man who is living in this world under a title. So reflect on all the titles you have. Farmer, caregiver, gardener, cook. So what is truth and what is trust? Really what it is. You know, it's really hard to say what it is for anybody, but this is what I think it is. This is the essence of truth for me. This is freedom. This is light. This is laughter. This is joy. This is being who I really am in the moment. And this is what I strive to achieve, the feeling that this little girl gives off in this picture. That is what I want to achieve. And it's going to take time, but I'm sure I'll get there. And then there's this. Can you feel it? Can you feel the imagination here? Can you feel this little boy and what he's experiencing? And I bet if it was a couple of 100 years ago, he would have been told he was nuts. You're never going to fly. There's no such thing. You know, keep your feet on the ground. Conform, conform, conform. But here he is in bliss. Imagine that he's flying. Can you feel that freedom? Is this how you live? To be truthful, it's not how I live. It's how I aspire to live. To be free. To expand my being. And the law for mankind is helping me. It's a journey. It's not an easy journey, but it is a journey. And it is a way for men and women to free themselves from the controls that are in place, that because we don't know what to ask for and we don't know where to look, we don't know what to do. And in the legal system, if they say anything, if the government offers anything and we do not say no to it, it is assumed we have consented. So if we want things to change, we have to say no. We have to say what we want. We have to say we are not in agreement with what they are offering. And everything is an offer. It's an offer to contract. Everything is an offer to contract. Even when the policeman stops you and he says, do you understand? That's an offer to contract. And if you say yes, you are under his jurisdiction. That's why they read the Miranda rights and say you have a right to be silent. And at the end, they say, do you understand? And you say yes, and then you are trapped. So, do we want to be trapped? Do we want to escape? I'm going to stop sharing now. And I hope there's some questions. I tried to keep it simple, but there's so much there. There really is so much there.
Wow, Shireen, I've always been interested in it, and it's been wonderful to watch you on your journey, and I'm definitely motivated to start learning it myself. But what was interesting for me, which I didn't think at all would happen, is when you started speaking about SARS and then saying how upset you got and how it actually didn't relate to anything with SARS, and that it was just a wounding. Whoa, it made me feel like crying. So we, and I can attest to, just the other day I was saying, well, I've had a good childhood, it's been wonderful. My brother and I were talking about it, and he was like, Candace, we got hidings when we were younger. And I said, but we were so naughty and we didn't get bruises. And then I was talking to a psychologist about that, who's a friend of mine, and she was like, did you just hear what you said? Like, you suddenly have made it okay to get a hiding, but we were brought up in that way, that if you were naughty, you got a smack. And we don't realize that even the tiniest smack, like you explained, you were a little girl, you were so innocent to the world. And the people that were raising you, your parents, you didn't know anything besides that. So, there's this want to be loved and not to be thrown away. And I think when you're so little, you're so scared of that happening because of the programs that we watch, because of everything that society has taught us to believe. So you do things, you act out. Like, I was a rebel at school. I was a rebel because my mom wanted to control me and I didn't want to be controlled. And I was actually saying to somebody the other day that I convinced myself that I wanted to be a hairdresser. And it was a lie. I've lied to myself for the last 22 years. And I've been asking questions recently. And I only came to this realization because I said to myself, how was it so easy to walk away from hairdressing? If I lived it for so many years, how was it so easy to walk away? And I suddenly realized, because it was my need to get away from school and the system of indoctrination from such a young age. And that's why I faked this passion for hairdressing, because then when I was allowed to do it and when I started doing it, just the natural personality that I am, I wanted to be good at it and I wanted to, do well. And 20 years later, I realized, wow, what a big lie. So yeah, it's just amazing.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
So it's like, I acknowledge my parents had a toolbox from their parents, and it had a couple of tools in it, and those tools weren't how to bring up children, and there was no manual that was given to them to help them understand that this little creature has infinite capacity and ability at that moment of conception, never mind birth. And it's from the experience of the birth, from the experience of being brought up by our parents, by schooling, by governments, that we lose that infinite capacity to be who all we are and who all we can be. And we are entrained to conform. I mean, if you think about it, we had to say auntie and uncle, you had to be respectful to them. You go to school, they make you all wear the same clothes, the same shoes. You've got to have your hair cut a certain way. You've got to wear ponytails if it's long. You've got to stand up when the teacher walks in and sit down when she says sit down, and walk from one classroom to the next when the bell rings. So there's this entrainment. It's like Pavlov's dog. You rang the bell and fed the dog, and eventually rang the bell and the dog salivated without the food, salivated without the food. But going back to the children, I was chatting with Roy, and if you just think about the very first time a child has an ice cream, this little kid, he can't hardly hold it and messing it and dribbling everywhere. And it's like, oh my God, it's cold, it's sweet, it's divine. And then it ends. That's traumatic because it's ended. That's the first time this child realizes that something good ends. you know, and as adult, you know, the baby starts crying, the child starts crying and performing and wants another one or whatever. And mother says, you know, whatever, keep quiet, you know, don't make a scene, you know, and it's just an ice cream. But that child is wounded because suddenly in this big world has realized things come to an end. And there are many, many stories we all have, which if we consider them, were painful. They've caused woundings, and those woundings need to heal, because eventually if you choose to do the law of mankind, they explain how you have your soul, and it's unblemished, it's pure, it's beautiful. Okay, and then along comes the ice cream event, and there's this little shadow wounding that sits there across the soul. And then along comes, one I'll share, my daughter's dog died while we were away on holiday, and we came back and I saw it lying under the tree dead. And I went, oh my God, I said to my husband at the time, take her away. And I went and gathered this dog and went and hid it. I didn't want her to see it. There you go. But that caused more pain because she could never have closure. So if there's no closure, how do you heal? And funny enough, she's a wise child, because years later when my ex-husband's mother had passed on and we were at the crematorium, and you know, she was on the little travelator thing that's going to go through the curtains and go to the kiln at the back, and she goes, and Granny wasn't a very nice person, so, you know, woman, it's not a person, woman, and she said, where's Granny? Is she in the box? So we said, yes, she's in the box. No, I want to see. And we went, okay, and we went and asked the official there, you know, can we open the coffin and show her that Granny is there? So we opened it and showed her, and okay, and then it started to travel down the travelator through the little curtains into the back, and she went, where's it going? So we said, it's going to a big oven at the back. She said, I want to see. And she made us take her out the back, and we watched this coffin going into the kiln. But for her, there was closure. There was this woman who hadn't been very nice, wasn't a granny type granny, who had caused harm. But now there was closure. So what the law of mankind does is it encourages men and women to allow this emotion to come up, to look at it, to see what's behind it, because it's not what's sitting here right now, and keep going back and unraveling that, and then allowing yourself to feel the pain, allow it to pass through. And once it's passed through, then there's no spark, there's no residue that's going to cause more damage. And there's we start to do no harm to others because we realize the harm that's been done to us. And in so many simple little ways, it's like, you know, I go, oh, well, I'm wearing this, you know, how does it look? And you go, wow, the color's great, looks fantastic on you. And then the minute I turn my back, it's like, oh my God, look what it did for her hips, you know, wish she'd wear something else, you know. We've got to realize that that judgment, even though it's not verbalized into the world, is causing harm. It's causing harm to the person who hasn't received the information, because that woman would like to look good and feel good. And it's causing harm to the man or woman who's saying it, because they're being cruel. They're not saying it in a nice way. You know, there's always ways to say things that are gentle and loving and supportive. So, yeah, the law for mankind makes you dig, makes you become a better person. And I keep saying person, persona, no, woman. I want to be a better woman. I want to be in honor, and I want to be in truth. And I want to bring it sort of round back to GL, because I didn't refer to GL during the presentation. But if we want our boards to move, we have to act in honor. You know, we have to put in our time, put in our energy. You know, we have to look at the difference in the people that are on the board. So besides if they're foreigners, we've already had discussions about foreigners who have different language, different upbringing, different ways of handling things, but even the difference between a man and a woman. If you look at a man and a woman's brain and a man and a woman's hormones and a man and a woman's ancestral history, men are direct, to the point, A to B, let's get it done. Women are, come girls, let's see what we can do. How can we make this work? Let's cooperate. Let's create a space of love and compassion and support each other and nurture each other. And the reason why this world is where it is at is because governments are run by men, mostly. You know, the medical system started off with men. Women weren't allowed. The legal system started off with men. Women weren't allowed. So we have this false or imbalance in how things should be. There should be this union of the directness of the testosterone, the power to go forward, drive it forward. We hear in Hercules when he stands up, you know, there was somebody on a call the other night who was not in honor, and he stood up and he said, no, you do not speak to the core people like that. That's not honorable. And that's great. That's what we need. But we need the woman as well to soften it, to color our world, because the world is colorful. It's not corporate. And so the same with GL, we've got to love the people that are on the board. We've got to cooperate with them. We have to encourage them. And we have to act in honor, you know, land on a board, connect in the good timing, do our gifts in good timing, and rejoice together. Rejoice in this beautiful, amazing gift that has been created. Again, men and women are creators. This was created from nothing. It was just a thought. And look how many people are a part of this creation right now and the potential that is there for it.
Oh,
So,
thank you
I think that's it.
so much. Also, just on the back end of that as well, with compression, there are a lot of boards that are going to be mixed up together, and there might be teams that are building and then they lose a person, and before they've had a chance to replace them, support activates a profile, and in support they have no idea which board or where the woman or man is going to land up. It's just a button that we reactivate, and then the system randomly places a person. So please be kind to one another. You know, if you're on a board with a team and somebody random lands on it, they're all alone on your board, you know, and they've got to face 6 to 7 other people, and they don't really know what's going on. They haven't been engaged. That's why they lost their profile in the first place. So they wanted to come back. So give them some love and appreciation for being that extra number on your board. Be kind to one another. I mean, in the last few months, I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know if it has to explode before it gets better, but people are really mean. They really have been so mean. And even for me, as a woman that created this, to constantly get judged and to constantly get told that I'm greedy and that we've stolen so much money, it's not true. It's not true. We stay here because we want the best for everybody. And believe you me, if the system and the core had made so much money, everybody that is in the system would be receiving, because we will always put everything back in that we've ever received. So please just be kind. Be kind. The rumors that I'm hearing, if you are hearing a rumor, go into your heart and connect with the person who is being spoken badly about. Connect with them and you will know the truth about them. I'm not going to stand up and defend myself for any rumors that are going around. I'm standing here speaking from my heart as a woman, as a creator, and speaking my truth. And everything that I've come up and said is true. I haven't joined another group. I'm building where I'm at. It's what I've always said, and it's what we need to do. And I've shared with the community for the last 5 weeks that I've started fresh and I brought in new people. And I had an empty board where I brought in new people, and that board filled up on the one side, off they went. And over the weekend, the first person that I brought in came on the other side to assist. And it's beautiful. And if we just go into that heart space and we connect with people that are willing to go onto this journey with us, we can do it. It's taken 5 to 6 weeks of me starting fresh. And I got my first gift from somebody on the $100 board when they came perpetual. Because obviously I made sure that everybody that I brought in just came onto that board. So I gifted those positions away to get it started again. And that's why I say, if I can do it, if Shireen can do it, if a normal person can do it, we can all do it. It's the way that the system's designed. Nobody is on the top benefiting from Gift of Legacy. I can promise you that. So
I would like to share that. So I'll be truthful and honest that I have had my doubts. I have had moments where I thought, what the hell's going on? You know, there's so many changes taking place, and where is it going and what's happening? But what I really want to share is that because I've got my little Clarence family affair, I call it family affair, and I've got my migratory boards that are still ticking along, and the family affair communicates well with each other, we see who's on our boards, and we see the core that are on our boards. And if my board is not moving, guess what? The core person on my board is not moving. And so in our little group, we've accounted for every single core member on a board that is not moving. So sure, there are boards out there that are moving. There are communities that are really powered up and flowing. But those ones that are not moving so fast, guess what? The core is there. We see them. So we all just have to do our bit and always look for the silver lining in everything. And then it's amazing how things will change with ease and grace. I love that expression, with ease and grace.
thank you so much. And that's it. I mean, Gift of Legacy was supposed to be the silver lining. You know, do you want to make it a rain cloud, or do you want the silver lining? The choice is totally up to you. But it's been a wonderful evening. I'm sure we're going to get you to come back and have you talk some more. And I'm going to go and sign up for that course straight away. I didn't realize, because there's common law and then there's the law for mankind. And every time I spoke about common law to somebody, they were like, no, I don't do common law. I do the law for mankind. And I couldn't understand the difference. But now I do. The law for mankind goes deep and it helps you grow spiritually, where common law is just the legal versus the law.
And again, you know, you've got to go into understanding the legal to be able to get up there. Whereas the law for mankind is so simple. It's I, a woman, and just for everybody's information, a corporate entity cannot contract with a man or a woman. That's why they do not call you a man or a woman in any contract. Every single contract that you look at, your Vodacom contract, your municipality, every single one you look at, your name is in capital letters. Okay. And the capital letters is a fictional entity. It's a trust corporation that was registered at your birth, when you got your birth, when your mother and father obtained a birth certificate, they became parents that rent the children. The government owns the baby. And that birth certificate starts with capital letters, and every single corporate agreement that you sign is in capital letters because they are referring to that. They are not allowed to have a contract with a man or woman. A man and a woman can only contract with another man and a woman. So once we start getting this clarity, and then we speak as a woman, I, a woman, to the corporate whoever, show me proof that I've contracted with you. They can't, because they haven't contracted with you as a man or a woman. So you get to know your stuff and you get to understand that you've got to speak in very simple caveman terms and you stick to it. You stick to it. So I watched a video of a man who got called to court because he disobeyed all the COVID regulations. And he went in as a man and they did a Zoom court. And on the name or on the screen, it had him as defendant. And he said, no, I am a man. My name is, well, I'm known as, I'm not a defendant. I will not speak until you remove that. They had to remove it. And every time the magistrate said, this person, he went, no, I'm a man known as Anthony. And every time she couldn't trap him, she said, this individual. He said, I'm not an individual. I'm a man. My name is. And he was very forceful. And I sort of looked at that going, oh my God, I don't know if I could be that forceful, but I do know that I could be absolutely centered and grounded and powerful in my truth. And that I don't have to shout at the judge. I can just say it. I've done it in my past without knowing that I was doing it. I've done it, so I can do it again. So we've just got to find the power, but we've got to get the knowledge and keep it simple. If it's simple, you can't get trapped. You want to make things complex, you get trapped.
Yeah, and knowledge is power. So the more knowledgeable we all become of this, the more powerful we'll be. And I tell you, like what Shireen said, half of the people that are in these positions don't even know themselves. So if you know the right vocabulary and you know the right words to use, you can run circles around these officials of government. But I think, Shireen, let's see how we go. It would be lovely to have you back because you just scratched the surface right there. But thank you. It's been wonderful having you, and wonderful being on this journey with you. And love to everyone.
Yes. Big loves, big hugs.
See you tomorrow, same time. And Adele and Melissa will be presenting, and tune in because we've got an exciting new colorful presentation that Adele made from her heart with absolute love for this beautiful community. So we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.